Oh humans, what a special species we are! On the one hand, we have the capability to create works of art, push the boundaries of science, and communicate with each other across vast distances. On the other hand, we also have the unique talent of being able to create the biggest possible disasters as well. From wiping out entire societies with devastating wars, to polluting the environment with waste, to introducing new disease to the unsuspecting wild. It seems like there is nothing humans can't mess up. So without further ado, here's our list of the biggest catastrophes created by humankind. It was an unpredictable disaster that shook Japan. On March 11, 2011, a magnitude 9 earthquake triggered a giant 10-meter high tsunami that crashed into the shore of Fukushima, destroying the nuclear power plant. The release of radioactive materials into the air, water and soil caused a disaster that claimed countless lives. But did it have to happen? In fact, it is the man who is responsible for the creation of these facilities and their contents. We keep our fingers crossed that the same scenario does not repeat itself. Although, I'm sure that people should have said the same thing after Chernobyl. I hope that this time it will be true. The event resulted in the first major nuclear accident of the millennium, which the Nuclear and Industrial Safety Agency, NISA, would classify as a level 7 accident, the highest on the International Nuclear Event Scale, INES, the same level reached by the Chernobyl accident in 1986. The Japanese authorities are still investigating and decontaminating the soil around the Fukushima nuclear power plant, leaving too high a level of radioactivity, more than 20 times the level allowed for the public in places like Leyte, that have already suffered the effects of the radioactive cloud. The officials have been trying to contain the problem as much as possible, but the extensive spread and airborne releases have been difficult to rein in, leaving dealing with the fallout from the entire oceanic region to the North Pacific as a daunting obstacle. But the brunt of the struggle was borne by those most affected, the citizens of the once peaceful village who felt the horrendous effects of radioactive pollution on their land. But what some people don't know is that it released some pretty scary stuff. Radioactive particles like iodine-131, cesium-134 and cesium-137 were found all over the place, not just at the plant itself, but in nearby drinking water, food and even some non-food products. This is pretty frightening, but recently scientists have discovered even more dangerous stuff. It turns out that huge particles, over 300 micrometers, that were released from one of the reactor cores have been found just 3.9 kilometers away. Despite being over 37 years since the tragic Chernobyl disaster, the area is still not habitable for human life. I believe that Fukushima is ready to beat this record. You might not know this one, but this is one of the worst environmental disasters created by humans. A group of misguided scientists made a mistake in their calculation that led to this catastrophe. This disaster was known as Castle Bravo. This is a code name given to the largest nuclear explosion in history that occurred during Operation Castle. It is another clear example of how the end of humanity has accelerated the destruction of the planet, as this disaster took many lives and destroyed a large part of the territory. The cause was a thermonuclear bomb dropped as a test on the Marshall Islands in Micronesia in 1954. The famous mushroom cloud, due to the shape of the smoke after the explosion, had a power of 15 megatons, which is more than 1,000 times more powerful than the one dropped on Hiroshima in 1945, much more than they thought. The result was the immediate destruction of the area, and the radiological contamination spread not only in this part, but also affected the nearest islands, and even the ships in the area. Thus, the entire area was devastated and contaminated with radiation, killing people, plants and animals, although there were survivors who had serious after effects for the rest of their lives. Who would have thought such destruction could come from such a small package? It is like a grotesque version of the Jack and the Beanstalk tale. Only this time, Jack is a super smart scientist and the Beanstalk blossoms into a monstrous mushroom cloud. It is enough to give any environmental activist nightmares and a strong incentive to remain vigilant when it comes to nuclear testing. Unfortunately, it will be a long time before we can forget about the horror of Castle Bravo. Like a bad penny, it always resurfaces. It is disastrous consequences as irrelevant as ever. Something similar happened at Chernobyl, the worst nuclear disaster ever. In Chernobyl, the operators in the control room of reactor number 4 made a very serious mistake. Well, to be honest, several fatal mistakes. For starters, the scientists forgot that they were dealing with a highly unstable nuclear reactor. They neglected to follow safety procedures, such as reducing the amount of fuel on site and installing an emergency shutoff. Then, when the scientists conducted an unauthorized experiment involving the reactor, their lack of preparation caused a catastrophic meltdown. To make matters worse, they quickly opened the facility's emergency doors, venting radioactive material into the air. That wasn't the only misstep. Later, the scientists responded tardily to the raging disaster, leaving people exposed to dangerous levels of radiation for too long. The ensuing explosion is still destroying the Earth and many lives. The explosion of the Chernobyl reactor in 1986, although it killed more than 30 people instantly, continued to harm the environment and the people living in the area, affecting countries such as Ukraine, Belarus, and part of Russia. Many people died in the years that followed, others were born with serious health problems and birth defects, and radiation is still present today. In fact, wind-blown radioactive particles fell mostly near the reactor, forcing the evacuation of thousands of square kilometers on both sides to the Ukrainian-Belarusian border. Pripyat, now abandoned, is being used to study patterns of radioactive contamination in cities. Chernobyl was like a giant dirty bomb spreading radiation with a conventional explosion. For an exile from Pripyat, the silence of a city street revives memories of the past. Another human-caused disaster in nature that affected all forms of life, including us, was the oil fires in Kuwait during the First Gulf War. It was the Iraqi forces that started the fire when they set fire to 700 oil wells. Not only did they start the fires, but they also made it even more difficult to control the fires by laying mines around them, making it impossible for firefighters and other relief agencies to do anything about them. The result was the fires continued to burn for the next 10 months, causing unimaginable contamination of the air, soil, and nearby groundwater. The burning of the wells caused a terrible environmental impact in the area, as well as numerous health problems in the community. The unburned oil from these wells created approximately 300 lakes of oil, contaminating a large area of Kuwait soil, equivalent to 5% of the country. The story of the Exxon Valdez oil spill is one of the greatest tragedies to hit the Alaskan coastline. On a fateful night in March 1989, 11 million gallons of crude oil spilled into Prince William Sound, causing an environmental disaster from which wildlife and planes took many years to recover. Vacuum cleaners, hot water hoses, and other unconventional methods were used to clean up the mess, but their efforts paled in comparison to the destruction caused by the oil. But while the Exxon Valdez oil spill was a great tragedy, it has resulted in a great story. It is a story of resilience, of a coastline that could not be overcome by an oil tanker and of courageous Alaskans who refused to let the environment be overcome by oil. It reminds us that disaster can be overcome by hard work, dedication, and a little luck. Well, let's just say it to the 250,000 seabirds, 3,000 otters, 300 seals, 250 bald eagles, and 22 killer whales that this disaster killed. Thousands of species were affected. The spill damaged about 2,000 kilometers of coastline, endangering 10 million birds, waterfowl, whales, otters, sea lions, and so on. After the accident, the tanker was repaired and renamed the Exxon Mediterranean. In 2005, another of the worst human-caused environmental disasters occurred in Jilin, China. A petrochemical plant suffered a series of explosions that not only killed several people, but also caused serious damage to the planet by dumping huge amounts of nitrobenzene and benzene into the Songhua River. Not only are they directly harmful to the environment, but in addition to being poisonous to breathe, they also cause cancer in the long term, either through continuous inhalation or through ingestion, even in small doses, of contaminated water or food grown in contaminated soil. A few days after the accident, a benzene patch about 80 km long was clearly visible in the water. People living in the immediate area, mainly in Harbin, were left without a water supply for a long time. It is 1984 and Bhopal, India is on the verge of a terrible catastrophe. A Union carbide pesticide plant released a deadly gas, methyl isocyanate, due to human error. Poorly maintained equipment probably contributed to the disaster. In the first week, the deadly elements took the lives of 6,000 to 8,000 people. To add to the pain, another 12,000 people lost their lives shortly after the first week. In total, more than 500,000 people were affected, not to mention the deaths and contamination of wildlife. Unfortunately, the consequences are still being felt today, and the area remains dangerous to live in. Quick tip: next time you move in a new area, make sure there is no chemical plant nearby. You can never be too safe. Welcome to the wide and wacky world of the Pacific Garbage Patch, an oceanic garbage receptacle of epic proportions. Spanning a whopping 1.6 million kilometers, the area is chock full of 80,000 tons of plastic debris, enough to make it 3 times larger than France. Discovered back in 1997 by renowned oceanographer Charlie Moore, what started out as the first of its kind has since blossomed into a veritable empire, with other garbage islands sprouting up in the North Atlantic 2009, Indian Ocean 2010, South Pacific 2011, and finally the South Atlantic 2017. Not only is this an environmental eyesore, but a powerfully symbolic reminder of the reckless destruction our human choices can have on our planet. Global warming is an ongoing man-made environmental disaster. Human activities such as the burning of fossil fuels, deforestation and livestock farming has steadily increased the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere and raised the global temperature of the planet. Many wildfires are partly caused by global warming. Beginning in October 2017, Northern California experienced one of the deadliest and most destructive wildfire seasons in its history. More than 170 fires were recorded, and at least 12 were caused by PG&E, power lines that caught fire after falling or coming into contact with trees. High temperatures associated with global warming and drought created ideal conditions for the fires, which burned an estimated 245,000 acres. The 2017 California wildfires claimed the lives of at least 47 firefighters and civilians and destroyed thousands of homes and businesses. The Darvaza Gas crater, maybe my favorite, or as it is commonly known, the Gateway to Hell. Located in the Turkmenistan desert, it is an imposing sight, a destructive crater measuring 30 meters deep and 69 meters wide, billowing flames of up to 400 degrees Celsius. This colossal disaster zone was caused by the unwitting actions of Soviet geologists back in 1971, who, while working at a gas exploration site, accidentally caused a cave containing a large amount of natural gas to collapse it on itself. In a moment of madness, they decided to set fire to the gas, believing that it would be extinguishing within a few days. However, the unfortunate calculation was incorrect, and almost 50 years on the crater continues to blaze and burn, with untold consequences on the environment. While human history is full of remarkable achievements, it is sometimes the worst moments that leave the most enduring impression. Between natural disasters, industrial accidents, and wartime catastrophes, it is unfortunate that humanity will be remembered for some of its biggest disasters. In conclusion, one thing is for sure: humans can be incredibly talented at producing the biggest disasters possible.